And if you really want a mind fuck on this one, we'd gone to the same synagogue, and her mom was my and my brother's fifth grade teacher.
Wow.
Wow.
That's cool.
So you ever really want a scary dating scenario? Walk in to pick her up, and it's five women around a maj table, all of whom were your teacher or knew you when you were between the age of 6 and 13. I've walked in to pick up women, and their dads were cleaning shotguns. Five women around a maj table who knew me as an adolescent, scarier than a shotgun.
DIVORCEPARTY. Welcome to Divorce Party. I'm Monica Casey here with Tom Arnold. We're very excited about our guest today. He is a business attorney and a divorce coach for men. Please welcome to the show, Loren Casuto. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Ready, willing, and able.
Great. I love it. Tom should be here any second. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I want to talk about how a Divorce Party alum, Sean Polofsky, referred us to you. How do you know Sean?
Sean is one of the best friends of my wife, actually.
That's amazing. Were you there for the Divorce Party celebration?
I was not. I had a screaming baby to deal with, but I was there in spirit and thankfully without the hangover.
Oh, right. I mean, I've never been there. It looks like a good time was had by all. I think
New Orleans, you have to legitimately try to not have a good time.
Yeah. I love that they had matching t-shirts, the whole shebang. Oh my gosh. That's great. Okay, here comes Tom. Hey, Tom.
How are you?
How's it going today?
Oh, hectic. Kids have play dates here. The third week without school. Trying to get my son set all of his shit up on here. I had to figure out a way to get on my own desktop, but it's all good. It's all good.
Well, Loren is a new dad. Is this your first baby?
First, yeah.
How old's your baby?
About 2 months or so. She was born premature, so we're not sure, like, is she technically 3 months when she was born, or is she like less than a month when she was supposed to be born?
Well, you got to go with the when she was born. I mean, you can figure it out.
3 months.
Away.
You're in it.
I think in Japan they did, or maybe it's Korea. Your first year of life didn't count or something. People are a year younger, which I'm all for that.
I love it.
I'm all for that. I forget how it goes. But it's a good thing. Well, congratulations. I'm sure that you're involved with every aspect of that with the baby. My advice is do it all. Change every diaper, do every feeding that you can, because it's money in the bank for when they get older. My kids are 10 and 7. I'm sure Monica agrees. It seems like stuff when I first, when I got divorced from the mother many years ago, my lawyer said, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I want at least 50% custody." He's like, "No, wait till they're like 7 or 8 and they're fun." And I said, "I don't know where I'll be when they're 7 or 8. I'm going to do that now." So it is a difference. Arnold Schwarzenegger told me his first baby, his daughter, he would go in to change the diaper, and Maria and everybody push him out of the way. We got this. And so he did. He backed off, and then he feels that he would be closer to his daughter, because his second daughter, he did everything. And he warned me. He said, "Hey, get in there and do all that stuff." So
yeah.
Anyway, congratulations. It's the best thing. It's
Thank
hard.
You. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm definitely I'm in the weeds with all of it. My wife would not tolerate me stepping off to the side in any way. So
right.
Yeah.
So we got connected to Loren from our Divorce Party alum, Sean Polofsky, the Brazilian that was married to the Brazilian.
Oh, yes.
And Loren's wife is very close friends with Sean. So she sent us his direction. And so, yeah, tell us about, so you're a business attorney, but you're also a divorce coach for men.
Yes. So I started from Ashes Coaching, which is what it is. I started about a year ago. Been slowly building up clients and whatnot. And the main reason and the purpose of doing so is divorce is hard to go through, and there's not a lot of resources for guys out there. I've listened to your show. You've had a few guys on who are podcasters devoted to divorce, but it's mostly as a father figure, and there's none really out there for guys as themselves going through whatever part of it is. And also for guys, there's a bit of a stigma when you say you're a divorced guys. You often get looked at, what did you do wrong during the process?
What did you do? What did you do? Yeah.
And doesn't matter if you did nothing. To steal a line from Chris Rock, I love it. It makes me feel like I stole my own car. So, and since then, it's just been an opportunity to help people get through, what's been basically the death of a previous life. And as the name says, from ashes, how you can build a better one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there, because people do say, what even your best friends, like, okay, what did you do? Or, and then they'll do that, oh, a woman scored, like that weird sexist thing. All her behavior is understandable. A woman scored. Well, why is she scored? I don't know. Even if there is a reason, let's say somebody cheats on somebody or somebody, whatever. I think that you got to still get through it. I mean, you will be punished, so I think it's better not to do those things. But I think you got to get through it. You're right. Not many men have access to someone like you. Our last guest was an attorney. What was her name, Monica?
Judge Loren Lake.
Yeah, Lauren. That's why I got confused. I popped her because there's two Laurens in a row. That confuses an old guy. But she's been an advocate. She's been a judge. She's done family law, but she's really been an advocate for a lot of fathers, which is always good to hear, because as you know, we men, it's all, it's not like in the 50s where, by the way, the laws were better in the 50s for men, because nobody could divorce you. You were in charge. It's embarrassing. It has to do with finance and your future and this and that. So how do you help men?
More or less as a coach looking at their situation from afar. You need someone, from an outside perspective to look into it. Hopefully you've got friends, you've got family, and a lot of time they're there just as pure support. It's not, even if you cheated, even if you did something wrong, your friends and your family will often come there and just want to be there to support you. But occasionally you need someone who's not a friend from an outside perspective, like, okay, yeah, you kind of screwed up. Okay, are you doing what you need to do? And making sure you don't feed into some vices, making sure you don't get into addiction or anything along those lines as well. And, that's just a priority in this now. And, it's great to see there's so many organizations and people out there who are supporting fathers. And that's crucial, since the pendulum is kind of swinging back a little more towards the middle. But it still doesn't change in this era of, mental health and everyone wanting to make sure they're okay. There's not a lot of support out there for guys who are just going through the slog of it.
Yeah, I feel like we're slowly getting there. I mean, obviously, thanks to men like you and, some people starting, Instagrams for men about it. But I just feel like a society, it's like, I think people view the man in a divorce as like, oh, he'll be fine. He'll be remarried within a year or whatever. And then, who knows what kind of damage.
It's terrible to do that. Oh, I'll get remarried really quick, which is what I've done. That's why I have 4 ex-wives. I immediately jumped to whatever the thing was. And but Laura, let me ask you this. Are you able to, when you work with a client, and this is something comes up because there's a lot of acrimony and fighting in the actual divorce process and custody, whatever. And eventually you go, oh, the lawyers are winning all these battles. Are you in a position where you can say, hey, let's cut the losses. It's over. Let's move on. You may have a point. You may want to battle for money, whatever, but it's going to cost you emotionally and all of your money. Are you able to do that with people?
Yeah, that's sort of the advantage of being at it from an outside perspective. As an attorney, I actually had people wonder why I hired a divorce attorney for my own case. And there's a common mindset in the law that if you hire yourself as an attorney, you have both a fool and an attorney as a client. As you're just an idiot at that point. So, you do need someone to kind of look at that. And having worked in family law, having friends who are in there, you see people fighting and wasting precious money and time over the stupidest things, whether it's, a dog or a fish or God knows what else. And yeah, you're right. The attorneys are the ones who win in that case. And, there's things you truly want to fight over. And in my own divorce, probably what took the longest was my ex-wife was really fighting hard to keep family heirlooms that we had. I didn't want almost anything else that she had. I just wanted to get the hell out of there and get back to California. But, you need to decide what's important, what's worth the fight. And even eventually when it's just like, okay, screw you, I'm done, I'm walking.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also think it's like being your own attorney is like being your own therapist. Oh, I'm a therapist, so I'll take care of this up here. And that just doesn't, as we know, that doesn't work.
Well, and I like the term coach. Coach probably works better for some people. It's like with the word God, it freaks people out. Like if you have to say universe or whatever it takes to make you okay with, seeking that out. Some men do not like therapy or, because then it insinuates that there's something wrong with them, and not just men, women too. So, and obviously you have experience, you've been divorced. What got you through it, or how were you able to, not lose your mind when you were going through your divorce?
I was very lucky. So for some context, I'm a Southern California kid, born and raised in San Diego, and I moved out to Wilmington, Delaware, where my wife had gotten a job. So yeah, I moved 3,000 miles away, pretty much away from everything I really knew when she got a job. And she was a local religious leader, so it was harder for her to find a job. I followed her. So when the divorce came, I was pretty much alone. I had to stay in our home because had I left, anything that was in the home would have been considered abandonment. So for about 2 months, I stayed in the same home as my ex-wife, which was not good for my sanity.
Did you guys do a chart like War of the Roses? Like this quadrant is yours, this is yours?
No, I mean, thankfully, knock on wood, I had a spare bathroom and a bedroom. It's not like I slept on the couch. Thank God for that. But, a lot of times it was, you wake up, I really didn't cook or anything, and I love to cook, so that sucked. And I'd eat out all the time, and then I'd go to work and come back. What got me through it really were family and friends, and, I had support even if there was 3,000 miles away. And that's really what kind of got me through it. I had an uncle in Connecticut who I could go see from Wilmington, wasn't too far. So these are all things that kept me somewhat sane in a very tense situation. And again, it kind of goes back to the beginning. What about the guys who don't have that? Or if you're in the same city or close proximity to your ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife, and you have joint friends and all that, it becomes really difficult because there's a natural culling of who's going to be friends with your ex, who can actually stay friends with both of you. And again, that's where you need a third party, someone from the outside who can kind of help figure that out. But it's only through that I managed to keep my sanity in it.
And I think because of the nature of your wife's job, it would be even easier for people to look at you and go, obviously you're the issue.
Oh yeah,
this is a person that is on high, and you, so it must be you. I will tell you this: it doesn't matter if you have a 15,000 square foot house. If you're living in the same house, it's awful. Maybe different people than me, but I also felt like she wants me to leave the house so she could change the locks and then keep the kids. Like my whole thing was, it wasn't about the stuff. I said, she eventually moved out, and I said, come over and take anything. She had a movie truck pull up, and the kids and I are at the kitchen table. It's the first day of soccer, and there's a movie truck that pulled up. I wasn't even aware it was happening. She comes in, starts loading stuff out, and my son's like, Daddy, she's stealing our stuff. I go, no, it's half hers. She can have whatever, I just want this thing to be over. And then we watched them load up for a while. And then I said, son, get your iPad. Go in there and film the back of that truck. Let's see what's in there. But it's a big control thing. So in my case, she got her stuff out of there, which is just a relief, but whatever. Then there was always she's like, I think I left some stuff there. She always wanted to come over when I was out of town. Or, yeah, there's stuff there. She brought the police once. She goes, he's stealing my stuff. And what ended up happening, besides them escorting her out of the house, was booze. She had to find something in the house, and she's like, that will be mine. And I don't drink, but there was booze, And she just hauled out this big box of food, which to me would look terrible. But, there's a lot of the control stuff. A lot people both have to surrender and move on.
Well, our last week, Judge Loren Lake was saying, only 1% of people probably walk away going, I got everything I wanted, and since you are probably good at negotiating from being a lawyer yourself, how do you feel you walked away? What are some things you felt like were smart to let go of? I think you mentioned maybe some of the stuff, because without kids, people, I think, make general assumptions that, oh, it's so easy to get a divorce if you don't have kids. It's not a big deal, but I think it's still a big deal.
Yeah. And I mean, I was lucky in that case. When we lived out on the East Coast, I didn't want furniture. I didn't want to lug that stuff back to California. We didn't have, we didn't own a property, as mentioned, no kids, no pets. That's easy. So a lot of it was just initially, here's all my personal effects. Here's like, here's an Xbox I like, here's some books, here's some pictures, here's my clothes. I just want out of here. And most of that was fine until there was a certain point, and I don't know if it was her, I don't know if it was her sister, twin sister, that, twins, good Lord.
Oh,
or if it, yeah.
It's a Lifetime movie.
Oh God, it's more like a Lifetime horror movie. But I don't know what happened at that point, but she decided that I was responsible for everything. So she wanted to be vindictive about it. So I mentioned, she had an engagement ring and a pair of earrings that were gifts to her, but they were from my namesake, my grandfather. The diamonds in them were 90 years old. They'd been smuggled out of Nazi Austria. And initially she said, yeah, fine, you can take it. I don't want it. And then she decided, no, because you ruined my life, you are going to pay for it. So I won't go through the whole process, but that was one of those things worth fighting for. But even then, it got to the point of like, you know what? They're diamonds. You want them, keep them, throw them in the Delaware River. I couldn't care less any longer. So once that happened, you had that impetus, but it doesn't matter. Mine was a really short divorce. There wasn't a lot to argue about. It's still a divorce. It's still the burning down of your whole life. And as Tom kind of noted, because she was a religious community leader, whatever community I built up, whatever friends I had in those 3 years, they gave me the cold shoulder like that. So you're in a fairly, you're in a different place, no friends, no real family, and in the same house, and you got to make it work until everything gets figured out. So I don't wish that on anyone.
Had you already started at like a new job there and everything like fully integrated, and now you have to get yourself back to California?
Yeah, I worked at an ad agency where I was general counsel, and, they were great people. But once the divorce started getting finalized and I'd been there 2 years, I just said, look, here's the deal. I'm not staying in Delaware, and Pennsylvania is where I worked. I'm not staying here any longer. I want out. If you want me to help finish off remotely my work, that's great. But here's the date. I'm heading out. I wish you the best. I'm really sorry. And God willing, they were very understanding. And some jobs are more so, some are less so. But yeah, the only thing that tied me to Delaware, which is a lovely state, it's all that. But yeah, I didn't want to stay there a moment longer because my ex-wife was there. Forget that.
Right. I have to say this about family heirlooms. How you described that ring from your grandfather, there are stuff, you don't want any heirlooms from the wedding, from the actual marriage pictures or the videotape or the books, but I bond to you because one of the times my ex got into my house, she started ripping open all the cabinets, and everything is on film in my case. And I said, whoa, don't open that. That's my grandpa's stuff from Dachau. And she ripped it open and started pulling this stuff out. So, which is crazy. So I understand. I understand that some things have more of an emotional attachment, but it sounds like you think you went, okay, what is it really? It's diamonds, it's whatever. And
well, yeah. I think it's interesting too, because we just chatted for a bit last night. You're now remarried and you have a new baby. What was that like to, date again and then trust the process to be like, okay, I'm going to do this again? Did you wait or did you get right into the apps and all the things?
I got probably back into dating and whatnot within about a month and a half or so of coming back to California. I had friends who were like, you got to get on the horse. Here's a bunch of singles group. I'm dragging you there by your ear if I have to. So again, good friends kind of help with that. But a lot of it was sort of learning everything again. And one of the funny stories I love to tell my clients is I had started dating her seriously in 2010, 2009-ish. So there was like a whole period of time and lingo and stuff that I had no idea. And I had to learn really fast in 2015 that if you invite someone to Netflix and chill, it does not mean watch a movie. I had no idea about that on my first couple of dates and actually got slapped in the process for one of those because it was
What does it mean? Wait, what does it mean?
It's like come over and fuck. It's
Oh
just
my God, I
come
love
over and hook up. It's just a code for hook up.
but you also said you dating groups. Now, did you get online? Did you do JJ? What did you do? What did you?
I did a little bit of everything. I had friends who were part of singles groups based on interest, whether it was football or, some Judaism stuff. I had every person in my congregation like, oh, I know the right person. It was a bunch of yentas at that point. It was like everyone knew at that point. And it was like, let's.
Love that they're like so
Yeah.
open arms, like we're gonna fix, like you're a catch. We're gonna fix you up in no time.
Yeah, but it goes back to the point of like, are there certain people you want to be set up by? And there's my mom wanted me to set me up. It's like, I don't let my mom pick my clothes. I'm not going to let her pick my wife.
You do know what people think of you when you see who they want to set you up with. You're like, what? Oh my gosh.
Did you end up getting set up with your current wife, or did you guys just meet on your own?
Actually, my brother set me up. He worked with her, and she had just moved back to from Los Angeles to San Diego. And if you really want a mind fuck on this one, we'd gone to the same synagogue, and her mom was my and my brother's fifth grade teacher.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
so.
Cool.
You ever really want a scary dating scenario? Walk in to pick her up, and it's 5 women around a maj table, all of whom were your teacher or knew you when you were between the age of 6 and 13. I've walked in to pick up women and their dads were cleaning shotguns. 5 women around a maj table who knew me as an adolescent, scarier than a shotgun.
I get that. I understand that.
Oh my God. So then how soon after your divorce did you decide, I think I can really help some men out there, or there's a need for this?
It was probably around 2020, 2021, because initially it's just getting through it, and you'd be amazed how much scar tissue kind of builds up and where it pops up. My ex-wife was a big fan of Thanksgiving and was her favorite holiday. And for like the first 2 or 3 Thanksgiving, I didn't even know why, but like all I wanted to do was go on top of a mountain somewhere, everyone leave me alone. But it was around 2021 that I started meeting some guys who were going through divorce. And I just started giving them, unfettered advice. I'm a good friend. It's just like, here's me sprouting off wisdom. Enjoy it. And it helped some of them through it. And they recommended some people who I talked to some more. And it was actually my wife who's the one who suggested that, there may be a market for this. You may be interested. And I worked with an employment coach, and I was starting to work on me as an employee and as a leader and whatnot. And then it sort of clicked like, oh, there really is a market for coaching and whatnot. And from there, From Ashes was born, and it's been going strong ever since.
And what's the name of your company again?
It's called From Ashes Coaching. Leave it to me to kind of come up with a slightly more dramatic name, and creative financing available. But it depends on, if you want to set up for like a couple of months, do we want a couple sessions? And, anyone who calls and mentions that, they heard me on this, I'm sure I can work something out. So it's because it's such a pleasure and an honor to be with a Hollywood legend and Monica, who's been a real pleasure to talk to.
Now, how long have you been married this time?
We are 2.5 years now. So actually my last marriage was 2 years. So I was just glad I could get past that point.
And this your first child?
Or yes, it's my first girl.
Wow. That's amazing. Well,
that's something else.
I'm happy for you.
Do you feel from some of the men that you have spoken with and helped in the last couple of years, is there a theme of why they're getting divorces, or any, things you're just noticing about, I guess, relationships in general?
I think it's the majority of cases I've seen, and I'm painting with a broad brush, is that there's a lot of different factors. There may be one straw that broke the camel's back. Someone was texting something flirty to someone else, or someone was looking at porn or something. It doesn't matter what, but getting to that point required a lot of different straws before it finally broke someone's back. And it could be predicted ahead of time. It could be stuff that's worked on, but and also I think the big thing is there's almost no case that I've seen where it's one person at fault.
Right.
The joke a friend of mine told me is, well, what happens if you find, you come home and you find your wife filming OnlyFans with some subscribers? Like, okay, granted, that might be a 99% is one person's fault. The number of times I've seen that is zero. So more times than not, it's both parties were doing something wrong. Maybe they didn't realize it. Maybe they weren't meeting each other's need. Maybe there were, triggers for each other that just no one really understood. So it's a many-partied and many situation thing that caused it.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, that OnlyFans thing, I'd as long as you put the money in the pot for the house for our life,
Well, Tom wants to be there to film it. As I know, Denise Richards said her husband happily takes her photos for her, going in the pot.
If that's her passion, it's not that much different than being an actor. There is a comedian that I met at the Improv whose wife, he discovered his wife was on there, and he didn't know how to broach it, and he ended up using his credit card to pay for her time, and it was him. It's a pathetic story, and he's still traumatized. But if you meet someone and they say, "Okay, this is what I do. I have a friends only or fans only, whatever it's called. I do this, I do that, but I'm a good person," and you go, "Okay, I know what I'm getting into here. I can handle this thing, But if it's a surprise, if you come up with a surprise, that's really the problem. It's something of second life, something, that, that's,
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned, looking at porn. I'm sure it's not just looking at porn. It's probably an addiction, a heavy addiction for that, which, I mean, since we're talking I've got two men here, like, what do we consider, too much porn, or are we for it, against it? Thoughts?
My thought is, and this is kind of something I live in general with my life, and I tell my clients as well, everything in moderation, including moderation. Mm-hmm. So, keep it within some reason, but, guys who are going through a really bad and, you got that, and it's just, okay, fine, go nuts once or twice, go enjoy yourself. But as long as it doesn't become a habit or you don't lean on it as a crutch, then go for it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. One of the first things I did after, moving out of the house, and I had a week where I was finishing up my work. Yeah, it's like go to strip club, you go out a little bit. It's like, but the funny thing is, once you get past that point, you're kind of left going, okay, now what? Yeah. And that's where that will become a problem if you rely on it so much in those few moments of like, okay, there's more I should be doing, but I don't know what. Well, that's also another big area.
But I recommend people do, it's like you don't want to drink too much. There's drugs you don't ever want to do, but sometimes you have a couple drinks, you smoke some pot, you do whatever in reasonable moderation. Sometimes you get drunk and vomit and make out with a stranger. Sometimes you got to blow it out, and so I'm all for doing that. I haven't gone to a strip club in a long time because it's just so. I have done it. When you have a bachelor party, your buddies take you there. It's kind of embarrassing, and but once in a while, if that's not your thing, because I'm an addict, a recovering addict, and there's a lot of guys in my group who that is their thing. They're like, I don't drink or do drugs anymore, but I am hooking up with strippers or sex workers. They're married. You really got to do, if you're really in, you got to be all in. Yeah. The honest thing. So,
I was going to say, like, what advice or, can you suggest for, men who don't have the support group that you did, or even if it's like a woman listening who has a guy friend going through a divorce? I mean, I don't know how. I guess what I'm trying to ask is, like, how do you, reach out to people, or what did you appreciate when people would reach out to you?
Just the fact that they were there. I mean, you don't know just how close your friends and family are until you're really up against a wall like that. And, just an example, my brother and I, we're very different people. We haven't always had the greatest relationship, but when he went through struggles and when I went through this, there was no question we had each other's back. And I think that's a good cornerstone. But for someone who's kind of going through this, the first thing to do is reach out. And even if you don't have connections nearby, it's try to find some. There's, faith is a great one in this. Religious groups, just go there and try to talk, try to form something like that. There's other men's groups, or just even doing something fun. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter where or how, just that human contact is worth it. And, with me, it was being so, here was a community I was a part of, and it was completely sliced off at that point. No further communication with anyone who, and a lot of people I'd become good friends with. And, there's also the fun side to that, which is I was in a religious community and now I'm not. I'm persona non grata. It's like, okay, let's go have a little more fun. But that wears out very, very quickly.
You're out there on the East Coast, and you're in this marriage, which obviously wasn't going great because you got divorced, and that sort of isolates you there. And people drop out, or you drop out. You drop out from friends that you're close to. I've done this, and especially at first when you feel like your wife, who you're really trying to make it work, isn't all on board with these guys or those guys. You kind of condense your group to try to make everything work, and then when it blows up, you have let people down because you haven't been as in touch with people as you'd like to. And really good friends will let you come back. You only had a 2-year marriage, but sometimes you got to make amends to the people that you have sort of abandoned. Like,
yeah,
said, I'm moving. This is my new life. I'm in this super religious community, but I'm doing that. My wife is a part of, and so I've condensed my life. And then you're lucky with your brother. You don't have to always, I have 4 younger brothers. You don't always have to get along with your brothers. But when the shit hits the fan, it is nice to know they're there and that you're there for them. That's sort of a band relationship. Like, you don't need this every day talking or every month or intimate stuff, but you just know that when the going gets tough,
Yeah, like it's just a check-in here and there. And I'm sure for, you or anyone else out there, just a simple text, like, just hang in, how you doing? You want to meet up? I wonder too, I mean, obviously you both were financially stable enough for you to be able to move out. I mean, when you moved out, did you rent a place in Delaware before you decided to come back to California? Or, because I always wonder about sort of those logistics of like, what do you recommend for people to do? Eat ramen until you can, afford to move.
Yeah. It depends person to person. In my case, when we had finished up everything and we put a bow on the divorce, I had about a week left to finish up my work so I could go there. So I actually stayed in a hotel for about a week, which wasn't bad. Everyone is different. The situations are different. Sometimes you got to crash on a couch of a friend if that's needed. Sometimes it's just renting an apartment. Sometimes you have to stay. I've heard there's a bigger trend now because the economy is what it is, that some married couples are still being forced to be roommates because of it, which, if there's any human way, just for your own sanity, get out of that house. You got to get out of that house. It doesn't matter where. It just so you have a place to lay your head where you can not worry about someone being around you who you used to love who doesn't like you any longer. But it just depends case by case, person to person. I've helped ones who, were forced to get out of their, combination of, there was no spare bedroom and just the toxicity of it, to people who could rent an Airbnb for an extended period of time, which is still kind of a useful resource for long-term rentals. It just varies person to person, but getting your own space of any kind is a must in this situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, and I wonder if you realize this after that the person you're with didn't just start hating you. That's what I realized. No, it's always been that way. You think about, they always say, hey, go back to when you loved each other, whatever. With me, I've had the luxury of being so long without jumping in, because my thing is jump into the next thing, not jump into, and that I can really take the time to go back and say, well, what was wrong with me that started this? Where was I at in my life in 2008? Thought this would be a good idea. That has been very helpful.
You think that's also because you really like being in a relationship? Do you feel like that's a comfortable thing, or do you feel kind of a home or taken care of? I mean, for both of you.
Yeah, Tom?
Well, I think that I thought I just wanted a family. I wanted kids. I mean, there's no, when I finally had these kids, I realized, that unconditional love you have with your kids, like, as you know, the minute your child's born, you're like, holy shit, And if you're looking for that unconditional love from another person who's not your kids, you won't get it because there are conditions, as there should be in a marriage, in a relationship. But with the kids, it's on all the time. It goes both ways. And so that I had high expectations for my partners. I did always want to be in a relationship. I was engaged 4 times, then I was married 4 times. And I have to say this though, I like not being in a relationship. I like, you know, it makes me wonder, did I always like not being in a relationship, but yet force myself because of culture, because of, thinking I got to have a family. My family growing up wasn't so good, so I'm going to have this. So I don't know what it is, but I do hear a lot of people my age, they do say, and a lot of women that are friends of mine, they don't need that. And I think generally with women, this has happened to several friends. Jim Cameron told me this one time, who's been married 5 times and very successfully this last marriage. I forget how many years to Susie, but it's just wonderful. And he told me women act like they need you, and then one day they get turn 40 or whatever, and they realize, oh, I don't need that asshole. I don't need. No, I'm not putting up with any of his shit because there's nothing that I need from that guy. I've got kids or whatever I want to get. So that turns their heads, which it should go. So then, if you're going to continue the marriage, you both have to work on it. It has to be common stuff to do, alone stuff to do, all of those things. Because when it's a powerful thing for a woman that's been in something that hasn't been that good to go, okay, there's absolutely nothing I need from that guy because I have, and so and it's scary. I can't tell you how many men are like weeping. They're all cocky for 20 years. Yeah, that's whatever. And then they're weeping because one day the wife said, that's it. And they're just puddled. So, that's something you got to think about too.
How do you feel about it, Loren?
I think for the majority of people, they want to be in a relationship. I think there's something, not just culturally, but if you want to get deeper, like in our DNA, that we're not meant to be alone. And I do think, and this is also my own case, when you're out in the divorce, there is a period of, oh boy, I'm single, I'm going out, I'm meeting women, I'm hooking up. It's like, it's fun. It's nice after being at a point where you're at your lowest and, is anyone going to find me desirable because this person I love now hates my guts. It's fun for a little bit to be like, now I'm a hot commodity for a change. But eventually I think it's beneficial for guys to find that right person. And yeah, it may be short. It may take a while. It may be you go through another bad relationship or a bad breakup. That happened to me actually not too long after divorce. I got into a really strong relationship and then we broke up, and that probably added a little more scar tissue on top of me. But I think that is very much a human thing. And I think as you get older, it becomes more so because you kind of lose as I think Tom kind of noted, you lose the hot commodity thing the further along in the age market you get.
And it's not just the age. I mean, what do I have to offer? I'm a single dad with 2 little kids, like thinking of someone my age, and not much money. So really, I'm sure that part of that is like, I don't have, because I always led with big time women, I'll pay your student loans, I'll get your car, I'll do this. And that, I don't have that in the game. And also, I'm never alone. Basically, I need to be alone more, but because of the kids and and so, but I think I'm in a transition where I'm figuring out that, you could do this other life. It's got to be some kind of organic thing. And what I realize is there's a lot of women in my position, as and when you're in the middle of it, I remember my second divorce, I told Maria Schreiber, I said, because Arnold had a 40th birthday party for me, and she didn't want to go. She was bad, and she said she didn't want to think she wanted to be married anymore. And so I told Maria, and she goes, "Well, you tell her this. There's a line of women around the block that want to be married to you." So I remember thinking, boy, I wish I had that kind of self-esteem. But as you know, there are people. It's not just us that have gone through this stuff or that stuff. There's a whole world of people that are in our boats. They just don't. You don't wear a scarlet letter anymore, a divorce, this, that. And it does help to have people set you up. Let me ask you about that relationship you had after your divorce. Okay. That was like a serious relationship. Can you tell me, generalized, but tell me what happened there? Was it immediately after divorce? Was it the first person you met? What was the deal?
It was about a year after I came back, and it was JDate. It was one, God love that website, best and worst times, to say the least. But and she'd actually come back from being in a serious relationship across the country as well, so we had that, and we both just really hit it off. We both had similar personalities and likes and mindsets, and it went really well. Things were going along great, and then something changed. I think I was going through a stressful period. She was going through a stressful period, and it just couldn't weather that storm. So, after that, it was enough, and it was a pretty hard falling out at that point. So again, here's, part two. You're with someone who really likes you, and you guys are thinking seriously, and you're doing all these things, and now she goes to hating you, blocking you, etc., like that. It's it's a trippy feeling, and it does leave a lot of scar tissues, makes it harder to get back into a relationship. And my wife now could tell you that it took me a while before I was finally willing to commit. At that point, we'd known each other for years, and then actually, if anything, she gave me the ultimatum right around COVID, by the way, which is perfect timing. Of let's you need to make a decision now or else. And the or else part, and the or else was not of interest, and I'm thank goodness
So
for
the
that.
ultimatum worked in favor for once, because I feel like all I ever hear is ultimatums never work.
Maybe I'm the exception that proves the rule. I don't know, but
Right.
for someone who's special enough, and
Yeah.
you connect with that well, sometimes that's what you need to get your ass kicked in the right direction.
So
Yeah,
share with us a couple things that you have changed this time around that are helping you, like ways that you learned from your mistakes, the first marriage.
Gotcha. First thing is, I don't. This may sound counterproductive, but I don't try to necessarily make her happy. I'm not saying I make her unhappy or anything, but I don't believe that my own actions will make her deep down happy or unhappy.
I love that.
I think my first relationship, she was a genuinely unhappy person. She was one of those people who she could get a ton of praise, it never would stick. Someone would give a raised eyebrow, and she'd perseverate about it for days on end. And I try to make her happy, but I know that sort of happiness is never going to come through in that. Second, it's finding things that we, like Tom said, that we want to do together, and things that we want to do separately, and being comfortable in our skin with that. And the other thing is just never stop dating. I think that's a key thing, which is, always, we do date nights even now with a new baby at least once a week. I Shanghorn my mother or her mother to help watch the kids, or we'll, just curl up with a movie with her.
And
It's
flowers sometimes randomly.
or not, yeah, or not as randomly. But my dad, who was married for about 50 plus years, he told me that never underestimate the power of an unexpected gift. So that's
Mm.
definitely one thing I tell them when they're getting into it. It's like, don't deny just the simple thing of a little bit of flowers every now and then.
how lucky are you that you have your mom and your mother-in-law right there? You have that the kids can spend a night or spend. You're very blessed. Let me tell you, that doesn't always happen these days. Because people
No,
move
it's
across
very
the country,
lucky.
and people have falling outs their family, and I say this a lot. If it wasn't for my grandmothers, I don't know where I'd be, because even a baby knows, oh, this person wants to be around me. This person, and that feeling of confidence, because you see your parents if you're a kid all the time, and you get it. But that to have a grandmother come in and go, oh no, this person genuinely, well, they can feel it. Sometimes you get great babysitters, and I have the same that I've had the whole kid's life, which consistency. But that thing from the grandmas, that's a big plus.
Did
It,
you get some sort of like, since you are a lawyer, was there some sort of unspoken from your lawyers, like, we're not going to fuck you, we're not going to overcharge you? And like, were you able to get out of a divorce for a reasonable amount of money? Or
Friends and family discount. Friends and
yeah,
family.
yeah. Do you get like a coworker, like,
nah. We come on. We don't do that to each other. We're not that nice. I think what saved it was, in the end, realizing there were things I was going to fight over, and there was a point in time where I'm done. The heirloom thing I said, there was just a point in time with her. It's like, okay, fine, throw it in the damn river for all I care. I'm out, and you won't get any more money or anything else from me. again, that's probably the biggest saver in all of that. And you have some people who want to really fight. That's their prerogative. But the only person who's going to be really happy about that in the end is the lawyer. But no, lawyers, we don't give each other friends and family and that sort of discount. That doesn't work. That's not us.
Well, let me just say, from an outsider hearing your story, your first wife sounds awful like that for you. Not somebody that's not you can't make happy, and even though that's, and then your wife now sounds amazing, and
Yeah.
you got a different life. And once you have a child with somebody, there's marriage, and then there's marriage with kids, and things should still go wrong, but maybe part of it was your insecurity at first, because when you say, I know a lot about this woman, it's hard to make her. She really responds to negative things, a raised eyebrow. She doesn't respond to all the compliments and the stuff. That's a tough relationship to be in. And I wonder, when you look at your own part in that, were you thinking, this is a challenge, or I'm the guy, I'm the person that's going to make her happy. Nobody else has, but this guy right here, because I believe in this guy. What do you think it was?
I think there's a lot of guys who still have the, knight in shining armor thing. Here's a woman who said, I got this. I can swoop in with my lance and my steed and I can take care of it all. And I also think sometimes it's rose-colored glasses. You think, it's no big deal. It's just a bad day. Oh no, it was just this or that. And, you can excuse it. And it's only, way after the fact, you take a good long look at it and just realize, it was a bad decision from the get-go. Though it's funny you mentioned that, Monica. We were talking when I first started. I was doing some show prep with my wife, and I'm trying to figure out how much am I going to say or whatnot. And her only words to me, Tom, and I think you might get a laugh out of this, is, don't go out there disrespecting women, but seriously, fuck that bitch.
Yeah. That's what I love about women. Women can say shit. You're like, oh wow.
You need to, be respectful. But
women
the spit take was legendary on that one, I assure you.
Bet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, how was the COVID? Were you guys living together before COVID, or was this the ultimatum? Did it happen before COVID and then you moved in together and then you lived together during that?
The ultimatum was actually more, I want to be in a single relationship with you and I'm not going to tolerate it any longer.
Okay.
So, most people dating COVID, that kind of ends it in a hurry. And it still took me a little bit of time to get into the groove and whatnot. But she moved in basically about midway through COVID.
Okay.
And she became like, there was only 3 or 4 people, including my family, that I was really close to when I saw. And, it made for a really wonderful experience that I could come home and hear someone there, like Tom was alluding to. It made the relationship a lot better and the COVID period better to have someone else you can come home to and not just an empty home.
Did you live with your first wife before you got married, or for religious reasons? No, or
no, it wasn't even so much religious. Actually, she was when I finished law school, she was pursuing her degree in divinity and whatnot. So we dated long distance for a long time. It really wasn't until she got her position in Delaware and I moved out. We spent about a good year together before we got married. We were engaged, but yeah, so that was again one of those like, I'm living with her. I should have figured this detail out a little faster, but
well, you talk about rose-colored glasses. When you love somebody, that's what you do, and you don't look for everything that's wrong, and every word, every whatever, and to me the basic thing is that if you're cruel, you apologize, and don't be cruel again. Don't be unkind. But then apologize, and don't keep making the same apology. But I think big people, and you have a child now, so this is what you got to teach the kid: is hey, everybody screws up, everybody says something that comes across, and you never know how what we say is going to come across to our partner that might be hurtful. But then they say that was hurtful and then you say, well, I'm sorry. You don't say, well, that's on you, because what I meant, there's little things, techniques that in marriages, but the rose-colored glasses thing is, and you really have that with your child, that it's hard to it's not good as they get older. You're like, okay, what is my kid is perfect, they're not perfect, but how do I Because when you're really involved, and you really love, and that's how friendships are too. It's not that you overlook stuff with your friends. It's that you're like, this is a fuller relationship, and people do hurt your feelings sometimes. It's just you don't want them to hurt it all the time. You don't
Yeah.
want that to be their goal.
No, definitely not. That's a fast way to ending any kind of relationship, and in any good one, you got to have at least a little give and pull. You're both going to make mistakes. You're both going to screw up. When you're single again, you're going to screw up quite a bit too. But it's just how do you bounce back from it? How do you make things right? Whether it's with past friends who you didn't get a chance to speak with any longer because your wife didn't like them, or with your current partner and you did something stupid, as Tom said. It's just about how do you make it right. And, I've stumbled plenty of times as a coach. I'm going to keep stumbling because I'm human, but all you can do is keep getting better at it bit by bit. And, that's all we can do as humans in this world.
And as your at this marriage, did you sit down? Because my theory is, you just don't break the big rules. Everything else you can work out, but you lay down. Here's the big rules in our relationship. And are you okay with those big rules? No other people involved, well, honesty, whatever. Did you have that conversation with your wife and say, I would like children, she would like children, whatever? Did you have a full future conversation of how
expectations?
Hopes were?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have that with any significant other. You need to at least figure out the big ones, which are, do you want kids? Yes or no? Or, is this wasting your time? What sort of, desires and wants and needs do you have? Can we meet them? Can we come to some sort of middle ground with it? Those are conversations you got to have in any relationship. And, even with my ex-wife, we had the conversations, but, we missed quite a few of the big ones. And then you started noticing stuff like that. So with my current wife, it was a much more open conversation. And a lot of it was thinking, okay, what am I missing from the last time? That's how you become wiser. You learn from your experience in that. And it's probably why we're in a much happier relationship. And now we have a daughter from that, because you don't have a kid, ideally, with someone you don't like or don't plan on liking in the future.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people teetering.
No.
Do you have a lot of people reach out to you that are like on the fence? Like, I think I want a divorce. I don't know, but like, I'm really unhappy. Like, do you ever get any of those sort of inquiries, or I'm sure from friends? And what do you tell them?
No clients yet on that one, but I have had friends who mention that. And the big thing I just tell them is that this is not an easy thing to go through. Divorce is not, despite the fact like half of all marriages end in divorce, this is not something easy. It's going to wreck your life for at least a good year, if not more. And you need to be prepared for everything that comes with it. So, I've had friends who still decided to get divorced because they just decided this was not going to be a good situation for them. A few have been remarried since then. I've had other friends who decided to work it out, and it just depends on it. Every guy, and I imagine every woman too, has the straw that broke the camel's back. And as long as you're not there, there's always a chance to fix it and determine it. But if there's just too many straws already, then the back's going to break, and it's just a question of when do you want it.
Yeah, and I find that when friends are having issues in their relationship, I do not, even though let's say I went to college with the guy, we're buddies, I've known him, I don't jump in and go, thank God you're dumping her. She was such a fucking bitch, man. Because they will get back together and then you're out. Yeah. So there's a period of time where you want to support your friends, whatever, before you start, and then there's a period of time when it's really over to go through the thing, and then you can say what you really thought about the other person. But
yeah, it's amazing how many people all of a sudden pull that out. I had people telling me when I got divorced, yeah, I never liked that woman. I don't know why you were. It's like, okay, you guys give me your opinions all the friggin' time. Now you're going to tell me this after I went.
What about your parents? What did they say?
They hated her. I found out later they hated her. It's like, let me get this straight. Your Jewish parents, you give me your opinion on every little aspect of my life. That's what you chose not to tell me about. But
they're like, you have to make the mistake yourself, I guess.
No, I get where they were coming from. Like, the last thing a parent wants to do is, shove themselves like, I don't like your, that's a fast way to like having a bad relationship. So I get it. But at the same time, it's like, you're my parents. You give me your opinions on my clothes, and you're going to tell me you didn't give me one on my wife?
Well, they set a high bar for you because they're married 50 years, right? 50 something.
Yeah, they were married about 50 years. Yeah.
both sets of my grandparents were married over 60 years. So
Oh, wow.
they set this high bar, but that doesn't mean they wanted to be. At my grandparents' 60th anniversary party, I hosted it, and my grandma, she said beautiful things about their marriage, and then I gave the mic to my grandpa. I go, "What do you think, DB? How have you done it?" He goes, "Christ, you only get 30 years for murder." That's it. So he was probably joking, but the life that you and I and Monica live are so different than the life that because then you sort of people really felt they should stay together forever, and what we know is that this is bad. This is our one life. This is our forever. It's your forever. It's Monica's. It's mine. I'm going to change that, and it's not that we don't take marriage seriously. It's just that we take our one life pretty seriously.
Yeah.
And so here we go.
Absolutely. And back then, it was you talk about wearing a scarlet letter. You really were wearing a scarlet letter if you were divorced, male or female at that point. And even in a religious community, good luck getting the authority to get divorced and then get a chance to remarry. But there's good and bad to both sides of it. But as you noted, someone told me a funny story, which is during COVID, it's like, no matter how bad your COVID is, just remember someone's quarantining with your ex. And I think that about sums it up.
That's very true. And I think having a COVID relationship when she moves in is pretty exciting because it's like, oh, she's willing to risk whatever with me. And I can see how you get very intimate during COVID.
Well, and it's a good make or break. I mean, that's a lot of undivided time together. Just
absolutely
all the time. So it's a good test for your relationship.
Completely. And thank God it was a 2-bedroom condo, so we could have at least a little space here and there if needed.
Always. And do you have 2 bedrooms in your place now?
We have a couple bedrooms, and actually I'm lucky enough when we bought our home, there was a little spare room, and the first words out of her mouth is, "Okay, that's your cave. Go put your stuff there."
It's so important. Instead of finagling about that for 10 years and whining to yourself of just, this is how it's going to be. This is what works for us.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Exactly.
You see my cave. This was my cave. Now I got my son's video games and everything. So your cave becomes, but whatever it is. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. Monica,
thank you.
Details how people can reach out to this gentleman.
Yes, give us all your socials, your websites, anything to let people connect.
Instagram and X, it's From Ashes Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn. And if anyone wants to just email me, it's fromashescoachingllc@gmail.com. You'd be surprised. It was like, of course, I got to have the legal one with the LLC at the end of it. But it's fromashescoachingllc@gmail.com. And happy to chat with anyone who's going through this. And
do Zooms and stuff too, right? Or
Zoom, okay. FaceTime, Teams, great. Whatever you want. Happy to make it work across the country.
Wow. Love it. Well, I know people will reach out, and I hope our listeners will recommend you to friends and family members going through it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Monica, Tom. Real honor and a privilege to be here. So thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Wow.